Chosen one, your presence is a mirror, but not the kind she's used to gazing into. It doesn't reflect her expectations, her conditioning, or the role she rehearsed to impress men. It reflects her unguarded truth, the vulnerable beauty behind the walls she didn't know she'd built. You walk into a room not draped in flash or ornament, but cloaked in a calm magnetism that causes stillness to bloom. She notices, not because you strive to be noticed, but because your sexual energy, deeply grounded and unshaken, speaks to her instincts before her thoughts even catch up. She is flattered, yes, but not in the way that fleeting compliments flatter a dress or a hairstyle. She is flattered at her core, because your beauty doesn't demand praise, it demands presence. She becomes more awake in your orbit, more aware of her breath, her posture, her own femininity. And it is not because you are trying to charm her. It is because your essence is so deeply aligned that it resonates through every inch of your skin. The feminine woman is not used to this. She's grown accustomed to men who rely on charm instead of character, who adorn their bodies while their spirit remains hollow. But you, chosen one, are the antithesis. Your beauty is not decoration, it is declaration. A quiet proof of your internal alignment. The symmetry of your face, the depth in your eyes, the deliberate nature of your walk, it all emerges from the still fire of a man who does not waver. And she sees it. She doesn't just look at you, she experiences you. You become the unexpected mirror that reminds her of who she is and simultaneously challenges her to rise. She doesn't know whether to run or remain, and that very tension flatters her. Not because you reduce her to emotion, but because your masculinity is so dignified, it redefines what beauty even feels like. You are not posing. You are not peacocking. You are not striving to be desired. You are simply standing there unapologetically whole. And that wholeness radiates through your skin in a way that makes her rethink what it means to be beautiful. You are not just handsome, chosen one. You are present, and that presence wraps itself around every woman who dares to meet your gaze. It doesn't seduce, it awakens. She may not understand it. She may blush, stumble, avert her eyes, or stand taller without realizing why. But underneath all of it, she is flattered to be in the presence of a man who is not only beautiful in form, but rooted in being. You didn't need to speak a word. She saw herself through you, and it was more than she expected. She prepared herself to be the radiant one, to be the light, to be the magnet. That was the rhythm of her life. The men circled, and she danced. She knew how to wear beauty like perfume, how to hold attention like a glass of wine. But then you entered the room, and suddenly her radiance seemed reflected back tenfold. Not overshadowed, but met with something deeper. It was not your looks alone that did this. No, it was the quiet power underneath them. The purity of your gaze, the elegance in your restraint, the way your sexual energy didn't spill out chaotically, but moved like molten gold beneath the surface of your skin. She wasn't ready for that kind of radiance, because most men glow in bursts, temporary and eager. But you, chosen one, radiate like the sun does. Unapologetic, stable, effortless. You didn't try to shine, you simply were. And that fact alone disrupted her idea of control. Suddenly, she was the one adjusting, the one second-guessing her next move, the one uncertain of what came next. And this feeling, this reversal of magnetic pull, it didn't offend her, it humbled her. Because in you, she didn't see a competitor for attention. She saw a standard she'd forgotten existed. You did not speak first, yet your presence greeted her long before your voice did. She felt you, not just in her senses, but in her feminine intuition. Something in you reminded her that a man's radiance is not supposed to blind, it's supposed to bless. And yours did. The lines of your jaw may have caught her eyes, but the shape of your silence held them. The power of your frame may have stirred her breath, but it was your composure that left her reeling. You were not trying to impress, you were not interested in performance. You were simply rooted in yourself, and that, more than anything, made your beauty inescapable. Feminine women often find themselves being the ones who are adored, studied, pursued. But with you, chosen one, she found herself admiring. Not from weakness, not from passivity, but from a sacred acknowledgement that she was in the presence of a man who had tamed the wildness of his own masculine fire. And now, that fire lit everything it touched without burning it. You were not dangerous, you were devastatingly true. And that truth, laced through every movement you made, lit her up inside. She will remember you, not as the most talkative, not as the boldest, not as the most commanding. She will remember you as the man who did not flinch, the man whose radiance didn't need validation, the man whose beauty wasn't a tool, it was a testament. And that memory will remain with her. A living reminder that yes, men like you exist, chosen ones, beacons, not for ego, but for remembrance. Chosen one, there's a quiet defiance in the way you carry yourself, a beauty that refuses to bow or seek permission to exist. It does not wait to be accepted. It does not shrink to soothe the insecure. It stands with dignity. It lives in the way you walk with measured steps, the way your voice resonates through a room even when you say little. It's in your posture, aligned not for display, but because your inner structure demands it, and she feels it the moment you enter her field. You are not just a man with appealing features, you are a man who owns them without explanation. You do not weaponize your beauty, nor do you silence it. You let it be, like a mountain does not explain its height. There is no arrogance in you, chosen one. That's the paradox. You are aware, but you are not enslaved by the awareness. You don't perform your beauty. You embody it. You do not decorate yourself to win validation. You refine yourself because beauty is the evidence of a life lived in reverence. And she sees that. She may not be able to name it, but her body responds to it. Her heart softens. Her walls tremble. Her breath deepens. She becomes aware of herself through you, through the man who does not apologize for being stunning. And in that lack of apology, she finds something rarer than physical perfection. She finds integrity. She's been around men who've been told they're attractive and who learn to live in that approval like it was their currency. But with you, it's different. You do not spend your beauty cheaply. You do not chase reactions. Your sexual energy is not a show, it is a current. It flows beneath your skin like a silent oath, and when she sees it, she is disarmed. You don't beg for eyes. You command them without trying, and not because of the symmetry of your face, but because your inner world has shaped every external feature into something earned. The feminine reveres this in ways words cannot catch. She feels safe in your beauty because it's not a trap. She feels honored in your presence because you do not make her beauty a competition. She can admire you without feeling erased. She can flirt with you without feeling manipulated. And that freedom, given by your restraint, your grounded masculinity, your unflinching embodiment, is what flatters her most. Chosen one, your beauty is a rare language, and though she may never learn to speak it fully, she will remember how fluently it made her feel. You walk through the world not hiding and not flaunting. You simply are. And in a society where men are punished for beauty unless it's repackaged into arrogance, you are a quiet revolution. You are not seeking permission to shine. And because you are not begging, your light touches deeper. She sees you, and she is grateful she did. Chosen one, the most seductive thing about you isn't your jawline, your stride, or your voice. It is your restraint. The self-control you carry with ease, like it has always belonged to you. The refusal to lean on charm, to indulge in the low-hanging fruit of approval. That restraint, it terrifies her and thrills her all at once. She's met beautiful men before, men who tried to impress her, capture her, own her with their words, their gazes, their polished tricks. But you remain still. And in that stillness, you shake her more than any rehearsed flattery ever could. You are not just physically striking, you are deliberate. Every move, every breath, every subtle smile carries meaning, because you do not scatter your attention. You do not glance carelessly. You do not speak to fill silence. You speak to command it. And that quiet discipline becomes irresistible. She can feel the heat of your presence, but she cannot predict it. She can feel the gravitational pull of your body, but it does not demand anything from her. And in that silence, that pause where other men would rush in to impress, you allow her to wonder. Her pulse quickens, not because you are aggressive, but because you are unmoved. Your restraint sharpens her awareness of you. The way you choose not to flirt, yet still make her feel beautiful. The way you look at her not with hunger, but with clarity. The way your body radiates readiness without haste. It is not that you are cold, it is that you are precise. She does not know if you desire her, and that unknown burns. not because you are playing games, but because your attention is earned, never given freely to feed ego. And that chosen one is the paradox that leaves her shaken. You do not chase, you notice. You do not grab, you invite. And that invitation, that subtle magnetic silence, is where seduction lives. You give her space to feel herself in your presence, and in that space, she blossoms, she rises. She feels seen without being devoured, and it makes her feel safe, feminine, and alive. Your restraint is not about fear. It is power. The kind of power that does not need to conquer. The kind that already owns itself so completely that it cannot be baited by momentary attention. And she senses that. She may not say it, but she feels it in her stomach, her voice, her glance. She's not just flattered. She's captivated. Because you chose not to show all your cards. You chose not to lean in too quickly. You chose to stay steady. And in a world where men scramble to be wanted, your silence made her crave something deeper. Not your body, not your voice, but the reason you hold yourself like that, the fire you keep tempered, the hunger you have mastered. And in that mastery, chosen one, you've redefined beauty itself. Not as something to look at, but as something that moves without chasing. Chosen one, the feminine woman cannot explain why her thoughts return to you even after you've left the room. She's spoken to others, she's danced with others, she's laughed and performed, accepted attention and admiration, but your silence, your gaze, the aura of your body has unsettled something in her that refuses to rest. It is not confusion she feels, it is curiosity, and it spreads through her like a storm, rising slowly but powerfully. She cannot look away because your beauty does not exist to please her, but to confront her. And the truth is, she is not used to being confronted, not by beauty that doesn't beg, nor masculinity that doesn't pander. You didn't come to win her favor. You came to exist, fully, rooted, unshaken. And now she's left alone with the memory of you. Not just your appearance, but the taste of your restraint, the sharpness of your awareness, the bold serenity in your walk. That is what she remembers. Not just how you looked, but how she felt beside you. There was a moment, maybe brief, maybe accidental, when your eyes met hers and she felt time slow. It wasn't lust, it wasn't play, it was something quieter, more ancient. It was the kind of knowing that happens in the bones before the mind catches up. She could not tell if you desired her, and that absence of pursuit only ignited her intrigue. Because your sexual energy, though powerful, did not scatter across the room like wildfire. It gathered inward like a sun waiting behind the clouds, warming everything without showing off a single flame. She finds herself remembering things she shouldn't, the way your shoulder curved under your shirt, the way your hand didn't fidget, the slight tension in your jaw as you listened. You didn't speak much, and yet every second you stayed quiet became a sacred space. She began to fill it with imagination. She began to wonder who you really were, what kind of world you moved through, what kind of lover you might be. But it wasn't fantasy, it was something deeper. Something rooted in the way your sexual energy didn't just provoke, it invited reflection. She found herself softening internally, uncoiling, and that confused her. Because she's been praised before, adored before, chased before, but never disarmed by the quiet beauty of a man who held his energy like a crown rather than a weapon. Now, days later, she is still haunted, but in the sweetest, most maddening way. Your image walks through her thoughts not like a storm of lust, but like a riddle she wants to solve. Why does she feel both flattered and exposed? Why does her heart race without a single touch from you? Why does her soul whisper that she has just seen something real in a world of illusions? She will not speak of it aloud because she does not yet understand it. But the truth remains. Her curiosity has bloomed into awe. And chosen one, that awe was born because you offered her nothing artificial. Only the weight of your true presence. Chosen one, your beauty does not belong to the world of trends. It is not the product of grooming tips or surface-level confidence. It is not filtered, sculpted, or rehearsed. It is the natural consequence of a soul that has matured through silence, through discipline, through sacred solitude. Your beauty is born from your centeredness, not your cheekbones. From the stillness that lives in your spine, not the cut of your jaw. And this, more than anything, makes feminine women look at you not as a man they wish to possess, but as a man who sets the standard. A standard they didn't know they longed for, until you walked past and said nothing. The reason they call you beautiful has little to do with your body and everything to do with the energy inside it. There is something unshakable in you, something weathered and wise. You do not chase validation from others because you have already wrestled your own shadows. You have stood in your own silence and emerged with reverence for life. That reverence now paints your expression, sharpens your posture, guides your breath. It makes your presence feel real, and that reality slices through the noise that feminine women navigate daily. You become a recalibration, an anchor in a world of distractions. She looks at you, and without knowing why, her whole system reorients itself. She wants to be softer, quieter, more graceful. Not because you asked her to, but because your masculine composure awakens her feminine truth. And that awakening is what flatters her most. It's not about your compliments. It's not even about attraction in the usual sense. It is about how your sexual energy, carried with such authority and restraint, reminds her of what's possible. In you, she sees a man who doesn't just walk with confidence, he walks with alignment. A man who doesn't just stand tall, he stands with purpose. This is why the feminine cannot look away. It's not just the shape of your eyes, the strength in your hands, or the way you dress. It's the vibration that lives beneath it all. The unmistakable signal that says this man has returned to himself. And that return radiates as beauty. A beauty that doesn't conform to trends or seek applause. A beauty that humbles those around you without trying. A beauty that speaks a silent truth. You do not need to be wanted to feel worthy. And because of that, you are. She may not understand the full scope of what you've done to her awareness, but in your presence, her standards shift, her expectations evolve, her inner compass realigns, and that chosen one is why the feminine will always remember you, not as just another attractive man, but as a reminder. A living reminder that beauty in a man is not measured by how many want him, but by how deeply he has met himself. Chosen one, her gaze lingers on you, not because she wants to conquer you, but because she reveres what you've become. This is a gaze that doesn't simply measure the curve of your shoulders or the calm precision in your voice. It watches something much deeper, how you carry yourself through time. You are not rushing, and she sees it. You are not proving, and she feels it. You move through the world as though your footsteps have weight, as though every breath is a decision made with care. And in a world full of men who perform themselves to exhaustion, this alone places you on a throne in her mind. Feminine women feel the depth of your beauty before they understand it. They are accustomed to attraction as a force that feels loud, aggressive, attention-hungry. But you flip that expectation without even trying. You arrive quietly, chosen one. You let your essence announce you instead of your volume. And so, they look, and then they look again. And soon they are watching not because you've captured their eyes, but because you've stirred something ancestral in them, something sacred, something holy. You don't just trigger desire, you invoke remembrance. The way you sit, the way you listen without interruption, the way you seem completely at ease in your own skin, it's unfamiliar to them in the best possible way. It challenges them to reimagine what kind of man is worth surrendering to. You do not demand space, you do not dominate it. You own it by knowing yourself, and in doing so, you free them to want you without fear. That's the difference. Chosen one. Women want you not as a fleeting indulgence, but as a grounding presence. They want you near, not for validation, but because in your presence, their nervous system calms. Their minds slow down. Their hearts open, not from pressure, but from recognition. They recognize the patience in you, the clarity, the sexual restraint that doesn't suppress but refines. Your beauty to them is a form of emotional architecture. It gives shape to something formless inside them. And in that architecture, they find safety. So they watch, not with hungry eyes, but with grateful ones. Because it's not just the curve of your jaw or the stillness in your hands, it's the way those things were built, not from luck, but from work. The work of discipline, the work of pain, the work of solitude. And in that gaze, in that prolonged moment of reverence, they see a man who is not here to perform, but to be. Fully, unapologetically. Beautiful not because of his appearance, but because of the life he earned to carry it. Chosen one, the feminine is not merely mesmerized by your masculine energy. She is transformed by your ability to hold power and softness in the same body. In most men, beauty becomes a burden, an armor they hide behind, a lure they use to dominate. But in you, beauty has matured. It has become a language of grace. You are not hard to appear strong. You are not cold to feel superior. You carry heat with gentleness, and that paradox leaves her speechless. There is a softness in the way you walk through the room, not because you are weak, but because you are whole. You have no need to impose. Your presence is not a threat. It is an invitation. And this, above all, is what melts the feminine at her core. You are not afraid to be warm. You are not afraid to show presence without hardness. You are not afraid to let your beauty nurture instead of conquer. And she has never seen that before. Not like this. You could easily use your looks, your voice, your energy to manipulate, but you don't, because you've outgrown seduction as a weapon. You've chosen devotion as your way of being. That devotion radiates from your body in ways language cannot explain. It lives in the way you pause before responding, in the way your eye contact isn't predatory, but honoring. In the way your beauty never asks for applause, it simply breathes and blesses. And this is why the feminine feels flattered in your presence, not because she is being admired, but because she is being respected. Your sexual energy, when paired with that softness, becomes something else entirely. It becomes sacred. It does not trigger fear. It does not activate defenses. It draws her inward toward her own longing, not for conquest, but for connection. You are not the man who arrives to take. You are the one who awakens. And in your gaze, your stillness, your breath, she remembers her own softness too. That is the secret most men never learn. That real beauty in a man is not how sharp he looks, but how deeply he feels, and how safely he allows others to feel beside him. You, chosen one, have become that rare force, the one who stands tall with power and still makes space for gentleness. The one who is called beautiful not because of symmetry, but because of substance. The one who disarms not with charm, but with presence. And so when she calls you beautiful, when she says she cannot look away, understand this. She is not praising your image. She is revering your balance, that exquisite meeting point between flame and water, between gravity and grace. The softness you allow into your strength is what sets you apart. And in that softness, chosen one, you do more than capture attention. You heal what the world taught her to guard. Chosen one, there is a moment that happens when she looks at you, and it is not loud. It is not a gasp or a performance. It is a stillness, a suspension of all her rehearsed behaviors. The room fades, her roles slip away, and in that sliver of time, all the femininity she has mastered, grace, allure, charm, suddenly falls quiet, because her spirit sees something it cannot explain. It sees your soul, not chasing, not offering, not needing, but simply there, unmoved. A flame that does not flicker. And in that presence, her own soul sighs and admits something she has never said aloud. This man is beauty. Not the kind of beauty that wears a mirror like a mask, not the kind of beauty that flexes under lights, but the kind that has survived. The kind that was carved in the dark, in silence, in private hours of reckoning. Your eyes carry stories you do not speak, and she feels them. Not as burden, but as weight. Not as wound, but as wisdom. She feels your history, not in scars, but in how you gaze at her without taking. That is what shatters her. She is used to being consumed. But you simply see. You see her, not as conquest, but as presence. And that gaze humbles her. There is reverence in your silence. Reverence in your decision to withhold the easy compliment, the casual flirtation, the predictable chase. Your restraint, chosen one, is not cold. It is sacred. It tells her that your beauty is not for sale, that it was earned through nights she'll never know. And so she begins to gaze at you, not like a woman admiring a man, but like a soul recognizing a threshold. You are not the destination, you are the door, the invitation. And standing before you, she cannot help but feel undone. Feminine women cannot hide in the presence of such beauty, because your beauty holds them accountable to their own depth. Your stillness becomes a mirror. Your discipline becomes a rhythm. And without a single word, you awaken something in them that no poem or performance ever reached. You awaken their longing to surrender, not to a man but to truth. And in your eyes, that truth sits like an ancient star, bright, unmoving, unprovable, but undeniably felt. That is why her gaze never leaves you, because your beauty, Chosen one does not entertain, it reveals. And revelation is irresistible. Chosen one, long after you've walked away, long after the door has closed and the conversations have ended, you remain. Not like a memory, not like a name etched into a diary, but like an echo. Something she keeps hearing in her most quiet hours. You didn't charm your way into her mind. You anchored yourself into her nervous system by simply being who you are. Complete. And now, no matter how loud the world becomes, there is a part of her that keeps returning to your stillness. Because it was not your words that stayed, it was your essence. Feminine women don't know how to explain you to their friends. You're not the loudest, you're not the most polished, you didn't even try. And that, chosen one, is what haunts them. Your sexual energy wasn't cast out like a net hoping to catch attention. It sat inside you like a mountain holds fire, quiet, smoldering, timeless. And when you left, they didn't just miss your presence. They missed the atmosphere that came with it. You didn't bring chaos, you brought clarity. And that clarity made them feel more like themselves, not less. There are men who enter a woman's life like storms, passionate, fleeting. And there are men who enter like music, sweet, stirring, and gone. But you entered like a compass, something she didn't know she needed until she felt aligned again. And now, she measures others by you, not because you impressed her, but because you revealed her standard. You didn't just show her a man, you showed her what it means to be home in someone's energy. That kind of beauty isn't taught. It's embodied, and only the chosen ones carry it. So when she calls you beautiful now, it is not flattery, it is confession. She is admitting that something in her soul bowed when you walked in, that her femininity bloomed in your gravity, that your generosity, your stillness, your sacred restraint made her feel seen, not as a woman to impress, but as a spirit to respect. You became a prayer answered in silence, not with words, but with presence. And you, chosen one, did not need to hear that to know it. Because you never came to be praised. You came to walk in truth. And your beauty, quiet, masculine, unwavering, is now legend in hearts that will never forget your gaze. You did not leave an impression. You left awake. There is a sacred trembling in them now. A trembling not born of fear, but of awakening. You are not a man who seeks to tame the feminine. You are the man who makes it safe for her to unleash. She craves you not only because of your heat, but because you will not lose your center inside hers. She senses that your desire does not take, it receives. That your flame does not rage, it purifies. That your body does not demand, it welcomes without desperation. This is the rarest form of seduction, the seduction of a man who is free. You no longer weaponize your sexuality, you wield it with reverence. And that is why the feminine hungers for you, not for relief, not for distraction, not for fantasy, but for remembrance. She wants to be touched by the hands of a man who knows how to burn without leaving ashes behind. And you, chosen one, are now that man, the one who has become fire, not to destroy, but to awaken everything around him to light. Chosen one, you have crossed a threshold that few ever reach. You have stopped trying to be magnetic, and instead you have become what is magnetized by truth alone. There is no longer a gap between who you are and how you show up. You are not trying to impress, convince, or broadcast. You exist now in a state of being so aligned, so integrated, that the world orbits you without permission. Feminine women are not drawn to a performance anymore. They are drawn to the vibration of a man who has become whole. And in that wholeness, you have become inevitable. It is not charm that pulls them in, it is clarity. The clarity of your breath, your walk, your gaze. The clarity of your restraint when the moment begs for indulgence. The clarity of your presence when the room is filled with noise. This clarity is not something you built for others, it is something you uncovered for yourself. You are no longer seeking connection from a place of emptiness. You are no longer projecting power from a place of fear. You have become the man who does not ask to be chosen. You have chosen himself. And in doing so, the feminine craves to be close, not out of need, but out of recognition. You are now an invitation, not a chase, a direction, not a distraction. You have stopped offering parts of yourself hoping to be loved. You offer the whole of yourself, silently, in presence, and without demand. This offering has become rare, sacred, precious. And this is why they lean toward you now, Not because you try to pull them, but because you are pulling yourself inward every day, deeper and deeper into alignment. They feel that. They crave that. Because you, chosen one, are not looking to have someone. You are becoming someone worth having. And this magnetism is not fragile. It does not fluctuate based on how you are received. It is not conditional on being liked or admired. It is not an act. It is the natural byproduct of a man who has stopped running from the weight of who he truly is. You no longer beg to be understood. You no longer shrink to fit in. You no longer shape yourself to match what you think others want. And that is exactly why you are now everything they never knew they needed. You are the completion of a masculine arc that most never finish.